Okay, welcome back. We have Big Bertha is all up and warmed up. Gonna use standard, good old-fashioned 6040 tin lead solder. Yep, 6040. It's not lead-free. You're not supposed to mix solders. The lead-free tends to leach copper out of the board, so for these older ones, they didn't have lead-free solder. So we end up using good old-fashioned lead solder on it. Just gonna use a tip, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're using this huge iron for this little tiny board." But with these big heat planes or power planes, a regular iron's not gonna cut it. This is actually temperature controlled. You can actually, well, I can feel it. There's a temperature sensor in there. It actually does click on and off. It's the same temperature as a normal soldering iron. It's just got the thermal mass necessary to solder these big joints. So I've got the tip right here tinned, and I'm going to go this way with it. This is nice and warm because that's the holder. And we're just going to touch up a few joints here. Get this over here. And we're just going to touch up a few joints. Voila. See? Much better. Now let me just do a quick little visual inspection here. Was there any other ones that needed to be touched up? Everybody else looks pretty decent. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's horribly bad on the rest of the board. So, yeah, there you go. All that work for just that one little, well, I guess all that time. Let's check this board. I don't think there were any on here that were bad. Nah, that doesn't look too bad. I think we'll call that good. Don't want to expose those capacitors to unnecessary heat, right? So let Big Bertha here. Big Bertha comes in handy. That's really what you need for a large heat sunk components and planes. I actually have a bunch of I have smaller ones, but the big one just works so well. It's nice. I mean, compared that to that, yeah, just not gonna happen. All this thermal mass of copper. That's what you need. So this thing gets really warm. I'm gonna set this aside so I don't burn myself. Okay, let's get the base back up here. I'm gonna move you over to, there we go. Good. Yeah, that worked. Alright, now we're ready to put this guy back together. So we're a little premature on that, but we can get that corrected. So same as before, we got to line up the little connector on the bottom here. Make sure everything is nice and lined up. Set her down. Then double check from this direction that it's lined up, and double check from this direction it's lined up, because you don't want to realize that that's not hooked up until later. And we had problems with that one going in, so we're going to start with that one. Put this back over here. I get over this cold. And I want this one. Just be that if if you don't get the stamp, sometimes these are kind of bent. And if you don't get them in just like they had it, then you end up with it being hard to get. But they're what, like a couple inch long standoff, so you can just bend them to your will. I use the pliers. So this is an art to it, so push the washer all the way up, right? And then you use the pliers to grab the washer, see? And then you kind of drop it on the hole, hope that it's straight, and that the nut driver catches. Voila! It's like magic. Okay, so we're going to tighten this guy down. That one's tight, 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 and tight. Okay, next we're going to put in the bridge rectifier board here. And this zip tie is not supposed to be here, so we're going to remove that. Probably that was what was catching. So again, there's a socket here and there's 4 pins, so you want to line that up, make sure it goes in really nice. Good. A little wiggle room, but that's fine. I want to find all of the long screws. Be 4 of them. So you got the 4 long screws or bolts, and then trying to remember if those have washers on them or not. But the easy way to tell is go back to my pictures that I took when I was disassembling it. Actually, we could do that. That's probably quicker. I was going to count out to see how many washers I had left, but at some point we took a picture taking it off. There you go. And we can zoom in, and then we can tell that there was in fact no washer on the ones with those, and those look like there is a washer on those guys. So double check here. Maybe there's a washer and a thing. Hard to tell. I have to count them. Alright, quick pause while I count. Okay, a quick count showed I went through and put all the remaining screws. Each one has a washer on it. I don't know if you can see that. And I had 2 left. So that means that the picture obviously was right. The top 2 have washers on them. The bottom 2 don't have washers because they have the ring terminals. So let's go ahead and put those guys on. Just loose on those, and then we're going to go back to the picture again and look at how there it is. So we have the brown one on this side, the white wire on that side. So brown towards me, white away. And this we need to snake through. To get to the other side. And we come through here and brown on the towards me. And white over here. So we're still not going to tighten them all the way. Just going to get them in the ballpark, and then we've got, there should be a little hex bolt somewhere in here, which I'm not seeing. There it is. See, there's still a lot of play in this board. We want to get everything lined up first before we tighten everything. And then we got everybody loose. We can snug everything up and then tighten. Okay, that is all tight. And see how this sticks out? What I do is when I put the case back on, I'll put a piece of electrical tape. It's better than zip tie. Zip tie adds more thickness, and there's not much clearance. You got to be inside of the edge of this board to fit, really. So I'm going to make sure this guy doesn't get caught. That guy doesn't. Oh, you can't even see that, can you? There you go. I'm going to make sure this guy doesn't get caught, and the temperature sensor wire doesn't get caught. And there's not much clearance. You got to pretty much be on the inside of this board. So I'll put a piece of electrical tape across the whole thing, just pull it down. The zip tie makes it stick out, and that's why when I was taking the case off in the first video, I couldn't get it off because it was getting caught on that zip tie. The zip tie's not supposed to be there. That was added in. Okay, so this is all on. This is together. Double check that's all tight. Yep. We've got our cables coming across where they should be. Everything good. We're ready for the output filter board. And we're going to do the same thing we did last time. These boxes just happen to be the exact same, right, perfect height that you can do this. Ta-da, supports it perfectly. So you can still work on it. So you're going to grab this beast. This is the, other than the gate driver board, this one is definitely the most difficult to get back in because it's got the ones way down in there. So it just sits on here. Line it up here. Actually, not going to bother to put those on yet. The hardest part is these screws down, way down in there. And like I said, these are brass. They're tinned brass, so they're not magnetic. So I have no idea how, like, in actual production assembly, see them down in here, how you would do this other than just, the only way I found out is to use the trick where you grab the washer and you just kind of drop it down in there, and then hope it bites, like so. So I have no idea how many of these I've actually fixed. You probably go on the website and you can see there's a bunch on there. All the pictures and everything. Some of them, I don't remember if I have a write-up on the battery charger. I might. I know I've got a write-up on a couple of the, oh, see, that one fell over. On a couple of the motor controllers that I've repaired. It just takes forever to do the write-ups. I know there are people that like the write-ups, and there are people like the videos, I guess. But doing both would take a lot of time. And I've got quite the backlog I need to work through. Just looking down on over on the floor, I've got another battery charger. It's a BC3300 to repair, which is not made by Verso or made by Selectra. It's made by a different company. It starts with a W. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But after that, I've got two. Oh, I really probably shouldn't be tightening these down because there's still a couple screws up there, but they look like they're aligned pretty good. So I'm just always so happy when I have these ones in because they're so hard to get in. So yeah, after the battery charger, I've got a couple DMOC 445s. I believe one of the controllers is a first gen, and the other controller might be, I think it's a second gen. So one is the old Selectra interface, and then the other one is the CAN bus interface. So probably have to make something, probably just reprogram my DMOC adapter because it has CAN bus on it to talk to the DMOC 645 controller. See, I knew it. I knew it. Every time you try to take a shortcut, it hoses you over in the end. You're loosening them all up. This one screw. These boards have a lot of play in them. There we go. Okay, now everybody's in. So everybody will be tight after this. Good. Everybody is tight. Put these guys in next. These wires are supposed to be like that. They have more pins than they have in the connector. Or, yeah. Probably some extra I/O and stuff in there that could be used for something. Okay, I'll switch over to this. This is a 10mm socket for these guys. Good. And then you just want to double check when you put it together. You can't really see, can you? Here you go. Make sure that, can you see that? I got the shadow on there. Negative, positive, right? Make sure the negative lead comes in, goes to here, scoot this over. can't really see around there, but then it comes up to the one marked bat negative, and then the other one marked bat positive. So we're good. That is that's good. So we got one board left. Oh, 2 boards left. Processor board goes on next. As counterintuitive as that seems. And we've got these 2 standoffs. No washers on them. And then these are the smaller, so these are actually 5mm. We got the processor board in, and next is the main I/O board. And I'm going to flip this back over to the other side. We're going to move this out of the way. I put this on the edge of the workbench here because the cables hang down and it's a pain to adjust the cables. So, or it's not really a pain to take them out. You can't. They've crimped when they've crimped these on, they no longer fit through the glands connectors, so you have to actually physically take out the entire gland connector to get the whole cable out. But there's no need to take the cables off. But if you need to, that's how you would do it. So we're going to slide it over like that so you can kind of see down in there. So here's the hard part. We got to line up this header with this socket while keeping this lined up too. So yeah, we want to cram that in there. We want to line this up so that that's good. And then we need to support behind here and push it together. And I can't think of a way to where you could put the processor board on here first, because these have to thread into here. I don't know how you would do that. There's probably an easy way, and I'm not seeing it. I guess you could maybe attach the processor board here first, and then if you didn't have these installed yet, you could put them on backwards, then you just put these 2 screws in that way. That might be how they do it. I'm not sure. But it just gets the job done. And then because there's screws on either side of it, if it's not fully seated, it will be when you tighten the screws or the bolts. Somebody can correct me if these are considered screws or bolts. I think they're bolts, but then I've also heard things like this referred to as machine screws. So drop that one. So which way does this need to go? It needs to go up. That's why. That one's pretty tight. Oh, that's the one that's missing the washer, which bounced off over there somewhere. Oh, I see it. I see the light. Crisis averted. Okay, this one goes here. So, remember, this originally came in with its voltage being off. So, we discovered that the cat board had died and was only putting out half power. That also lets a lot of, without that cap in there, without those caps in there, it does odd things. It's amazing it actually works when it's in that state. Can still provide power, but I should have snuck that through, but I can still get that through. But the interesting thing is sometimes that fixes the voltage being off because there's a lot of spikes on the output, and the AD converter sees those spikes. They don't get filtered out, and it sees it as if the voltage is different than what it thinks it is. So that can account for it. That's why we're putting this together. We'll get it all wired back up, test it out, and then fire it up, and if it still has issues, we can take this board off and we can adjust the well, we'll talk about that in if it's still off, because if it's still linear, we can adjust the output resistor, and that will get it back to being dead on again. If it's not linear, then we have to replace a transistor that is part of the isolated voltage measurement that it does. So we'll have to see. Let's see if we can just get this all. We'll just get this plugged in here. We don't have to put the little clips on yet because they still got. Make sure that this all. Yeah, I probably should have snaked that through before I put that on. That has to go out this hole here. But that's just for the fan. We don't really need it for testing purposes. We'll just leave that off. If we have to do it, we'll have to take that board off anyway, so. Okay, this is where the camera comes in again. Do you remember which pins those went in? I think it goes like this. Yeah, probably, because that one looks like it's still tight. But, that's why we take pictures. Actually, while I'm here, I'll take another picture of this. Good to go. And we'll scroll over to that. Yep. You want to hold on to these guys when you tighten them because they're only held in with solder. They're not actually like bolted down or anything. But that's good. And then we will go to this picture. And brown on top, white on the bottom. Let's get them snugged up, and we'll tighten these down. And what do we got left? Just got the mounting screws and the two little clips, so we did good. And then the two that hold the serial port on. So I think this is a good point to stop this video, and if it works, then I'll probably have to take the board off and snake that through because it's got to come underneath. But we'll fire this up. I'll hook it up to the battery pack here and get it on the laptop, and we'll fire it up and see what she does now. Okay, next video.